Students?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the last class, let me just stop the annotation. Okay, so in the last class, we discussed a couple of problems on transformers, and we uh, showed some basic principles on transformers, and uh, we coined a few terms like leakage inductance, leakage reactance, and so leakage flux, how how does it affect the transformer voltage drops. Okay, so transformer overall voltage drop, how does it affect? So that we discussed in the last class. So let us start today's class. So in the last class, we coined the term leakage leakage reactance. So we have already familiar with these terms, leakage reactance. Now, as I told you that leakage reactance uh, is different uh, in primary as well as in the secondary. So therefore, we write the leakage reactance for primary. Generally, we uh, write like this. So primary so leakage reactance, that is XL1. Okay, so X is the reactance, L for leakage, and 1 for primary. Similarly, secondary leakage reactance, we call it XL2. So as we have seen, this is basically coming from this leakage inductance, and it is basically is a reactance. So generally we write the J term. Okay, as it is a reactance, we generally write with the J term. Okay, so J means the imaginary number. Now, for if we look at this primary coil, suppose this is the primary coil, okay, and so generally we represent like this. Any transformer generally we represent like this. So this is one coil, this is the second coil. We call it primary if we connect some supply over here. Okay, and we call it secondary if we connect the load over here in this side. And these two lines we used for the ferromagnetic core. When we use the ferromagnetic core, we use two lines. When there is no core, then the lines are omitted. There are no lines. Okay, so that you should remember. So these are the basic symbol of single phase transformer.
হ্যাঁ ক্লাস হচ্ছে
Just a minute.
হ্যাঁ 28 টাকা একটা 30 টাকা দাও একটা 30 টাকা দাও সেখানে আবার 5টা দিয়ে দিয়েছে ভাই মিস্ত্রি
Okay. Now, generally we take the primary current as I1 prime, and the secondary current generally we take as I2. This nomenclature you already know. So this voltage, we call it the primary voltage or source voltage or terminal voltage at the primary. Anything you can say. And this voltage, we call it the voltage at the secondary or V2. Okay, so due to this V1, we take the voltage which is induced across this coil is E1, and in the second coil, the voltage induced is E2. Okay, so these things we discussed in our first class. So whenever we apply some voltage at the terminal, we get some voltage across the primary as well as across the secondary, and these two voltages are induced voltages. So E1 and E2 are basically the induced voltages. And whenever we connect some load at the secondary side, we get V2 as a terminal voltage. Then we won't get E2. We can measure only V2 if the load is connected. So if there is no load, so then the V2 and E2 are equal. Okay. Now let us start writing the voltage equation. Some current equation we have already established, like this. I1 prime. So this equation, you just check it whether we have discussed or not. So I1 prime is the actual primary current, which is equals to the load component of current plus I naught. It is a no load component of current. So this I1 is basically coming from this I2. So this I1 N1 equals to I2 N. And this I0 is the no load current. Again, we can write this I0, which is called the no load current, is equals to the magnetizing current IM plus IC. Okay, so these two current equation we have already established in our previous classes. So if you don't understand, even you can ask again. So here, the first equation, the actual primary current is some vector summation of load component of primary current I1 and no load component of primary current I0. In the second equation, the no load component of primary current is equals to or vector summation of the magnetizing current, which is responsible for creating or producing the magnetic flux inside the core, which flux links both the coil. So that flux is generated by IM. This is called the magnetizing current. And the core loss component of current IC, which is responsible for the core loss. Some losses I have already explained in my last class. There will be some losses inside the core. These losses are generally the eddy current loss and hysteresis loss. So due to or to cater this loss, we generally assume some current in the primary at the no load. Load also load in loaded condition also this current will flow. So that is equals to IC. Okay, now let us go for this voltage equation for the primary. Now in the primary, you know that primary current, that is the I0 or IM, when the IM is current is flowing, the flux will be generated in the primary coil, and some portion of the flux will or a maximum portion of the flux will flow through the core, and some of the flux will be leaking. So the flux which is flowing through the core, that flux can also link the other coil. So generally we call it mutual flux. Okay, so due to this mutual flux, we can think of some mutual inductance, because from the flux only we get the inductance, and due to this mutual inductance we will get some mutual reactance, and due to that mutual reactance we get the mutual reactance drop, which we don't consider as a drop, we call it voltage induced. Okay, so let me go like this. Suppose the total primary, okay, so let us start with phi. So the total primary flux is phi1. Some portion will be mutual and some portion will be leakage. Some portion will be mutual flux and some portion will be leakage flux. Okay, so due to this mutual flux, we have some Ln, that is the mutual inductance, and due to this leakage flux, we have some leakage inductance. So this is the mutual inductance, and so this is the mutual inductance, and this is the leakage inductance. Due to both these inductance, there will be voltage drops. Like for this mutual inductance, we will get J omega L M. This is a voltage drop basically, and for this also we'll get some J omega L1 into, here we'll multiply Im and here we'll multiply I1, as this voltage drop is depends on the magnetizing current, and this voltage drop depends on the total primary current I1 prime, because I1 prime is the total primary current here. Okay, so the amount of leakage reactance voltage drop depends on the total primary current I1 prime, and the amount of voltage drop due to the mutual flux, that is equals to the Lm into Im. Okay, sometimes this term we write as Jxm into Im, and this term we write as Jxl1 into I1 prime. Okay, so these two reactances will be there in the primary circuit. So what else will be there in the primary circuit? Now, the primary circuit or primary coil is made of copper. So copper is the material which is often used for making the transformer coils or transformer windings. So if we use a coil which is having suppose 100 or 200 number of turns, and if we make it straight, if we make it straight, so this coil will have some definite length. And as you know, the copper will also have some resistivity. Okay, so suppose when I will stretch the coil to its full, it is having L length. Okay, and the resistivity copper is rho, and the area, cross-sectional area of the copper coil is A. So by this thing, we can write the resistance of this primary coil is rho L by A. Okay, so we can also use the subscript 1 for the primary. So thereby we can write the R1 equals to rho L by L1 by A1. So similarly, the coil which we have used for the secondary, that also will have some cross-sectional area which will be different from the primary, but that will also have some cross-sectional area. We take it A2, and L2 is the length of the coil or wire we have used for the secondary winding, and the rho will become the same because we are using the same kind of material. So it will be R2 rho L2 by A2. So that means the primary as well as the secondary coil will have some definite resistance, will have some finite resistance. The resistance will not be zero. As we are not using any superconducting material for primary and secondary, so the resistance will not be zero, it will have some finite resistance. Now, if the coils are having finite resistance, there will be some voltage drop in the primary as well as in the secondary. Okay, again that voltage drop will be proportional to the currents. Okay, now if we write, so that means in the primary, so how many different voltage drops we are getting? Okay, so one voltage drops we have just discussed, that is the I1 into R1. Okay, so I1 prime into R1, so that is the voltage drop due to the resistance. And the second component will get due to this leakage reactance voltage drop, that is JXL1 I1 prime. So that is the second one. So these two voltage drop will be there. Next one is this, that is JXM IM. So there will be three voltage drops in the primary circuit. Okay, so these voltage drops will be actually catered by this V1. So V1 is the source voltage. So this is the KVL equation we are getting for, sorry. So this will be our equation number 3. We have already used 1 and 2 for these two KCL equation, Kirchhoff's current law equations, and the third equation we are using for this KVL. Okay. Have you understood this part? So there are three components of voltage drops. Now, as I told you, though it is a voltage drop, but we take it as a induced voltage. We don't take it as a voltage drop, because this is the effective voltage. This is called the induced voltage. So generally we write this as E1.
Sir, I have a question.
Just a minute, let me write this, then I will take your question. Okay, now tell me.
Sir, there will be no voltage drop for separately for the I1. So for simply I1.
For I1.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so that depends on I1 is flowing through what. Now you see the I1. So just after this equation, I will draw the circuit. Then you will understand that I1 is basically is a part of this I1 prime. Okay, so I1 is a part of I1 prime. So I1 is basically flowing through the R1 and L1. So for that, I have already considered the voltage drop. Okay, so let me draw this circuit, then you'll understand it in a better way. Suppose this equation, if I want to draw in the circuit, so this is the KVL equation. We can call it is the Kirchhoff's voltage law equation, because all the components in this equation has the units of volts. Okay, so this is basically a voltage equation, and we call it Kirchhoff's voltage law equation, KVL equation. Though the other two equations we have written at the first are the Kirchhoff's current law equations or current equations. Okay, now this KVL equation, if we want to draw in circuit, the reverse job. What you do when you solve for any circuit, what you do, So you are given with a circuit, electrical circuits, then you ask to write the KVL equation for that, isn't it? But we are doing the reverse thing. The KVL equation is given, we have to draw the circuit. Okay, now let us draw we have a voltage source, so let us draw a voltage source V1. Okay, now what is there? You have a resistance. You have a resistance through which how much current is flowing? I1 prime. So that means the I1 current is flowing through it. Not I1, sorry, I1 prime. So I1 prime R1. So whenever this I1 prime current will flow this R1, you can expect some voltage drop I1 prime R1, isn't it? So therefore, this component we have considered as a resistance. Okay, the next component, that is JXL1, this component. Okay, so sorry, this component will have some reactance, and that reactance will be JXL1, the leakage reactance. The same current will flow through it because the I1 prime current only flowing through it. So therefore, the effective voltage drop is JXL1 into I1. So that means whenever this current will flow through it, okay, so we'll expect some voltage drop, that is JXL1 I1. So here also, when the current will flow through it, R1, when this I1 prime current will flow through R1, we can expect some voltage drop, I1 prime R1. Similarly, you see there is a change in the current. Now up to this, the I1 prime current was flowing. So through this R1 and through this XL1, the I1 prime current was flowing. Now the current has changed. Okay, so one part of the current is not flowing through XM. So we have another reactance XM through which the whole current is not flowing. A part of the current is flowing. And what is that part? That part is IM. Okay, so as we know that I1 prime has two parts. So I1 prime has I1 plus I0. Again, I0 has two parts, IM and IC. But through this mutual reactance XM, only this part is flowing. IM, only IM part is flowing. Only this IM part is flowing. So that means we can do like this, as if the current is getting branched into two components. One is I1, another is I0. That I0 again, it is getting divided into two components. One is IC, another is IM. And this IM part only flowing through this XM. So that means as if there is a reactance XM through which only this IM part is flowing. Okay. So I will consider this IC later on. But if I go for this KVL equation, this circuit is now becomes complete. Though some KCL equations I have not implemented correctly, but this KVL equation is complete. You see, if I take the voltage drop, so what voltage drop I will get? Okay, so voltage drop arrow should be in this direction. Okay, so it will be J XM IM. So this same voltage drop I am getting here. So that means here if we apply this KVL, so we'll get I1 R1, I1 prime R1. So this component JLX1 I1 prime, JLX1 I1 prime. Then this part. Okay, so only these three parts as a voltage drop. So this KVL equation is complete. Now you can tell me, you can ask me that then what about this? What about this IC? Now you see, if you can remember, this IC is the core loss component of current. IC is called the core loss component of current. And when we first discuss this IC term, we also discuss the core loss PC, and we equate PC to a fictitious current IC, which I have taken here, as well as a resistance RC, which is another fictitious resistance. That is called the core loss component of resistance. Okay, so that RC I will use here, through which this IC will flow. Okay, so then this thing will be solved. That means IC will flow through RC. Okay, so that then this KCL, that means the KCL equation number 2 is implemented successfully. Then what about this I1? Now I1 has a relation with what? I1 N1 equals to I2 N2. Okay, so if I consider only I1, so this I1 is basically producing some MMF, which is balancing the secondary MMF only. So only this MMF balance equation, I1 has some role, and rest of the role is there, which is when the I1 is embedded with this within this I1 prime. So there will be some voltage drop due to that. So otherwise only I1 if I consider, so that has some role in MMF balancing, isn't it? So that means it will not flow through any element. Only what we can see as if there is some ideal coil. Ideal coil means it will not offer any resistance or any. So this is your ideal coil, which will not offer any resistance, any kind of resistance or any kind of reactance. That is only for representation, because I1 should flow through some element. So therefore we are showing like this. So this is basically an ideal coil. So have you understood this part? So this is the equivalent circuit for the primary coil. Just now I have drawn the equivalent circuit for the primary coil. Okay. Now, if you can remember, what was the voltage equation for V1? So V1 is basically, okay. Ask. Do you have any question? You can ask.
Sir, why are we considering I1 dash?
Anybody is there?
Sir, why are we considering I1 dash for the leakage in the reactance?
Okay, so the leakage reactance, we have seen the leakage reactance, or sorry, the leakage flux rather, because leakage reactance comes after some derivations. The leakage flux, which is mainly responsible for leakage inductance and leakage reactance.
Yes.
So the leakage flux depends on the whole current, not only the no load component of current. Whatever the primary current, in the no load condition, that can be I0. In the loaded condition, that can be I1 prime. So whatever the current is flowing through the primary, it depends on that. The leakage flux depends on that.
Okay.
It is not depends on the part of the current, but the mutual flux depends on the part of the current.
Only the magnetizing part creates
only the magnetizing part of the current. Only the magnetizing part of the current. It depends.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. Thank you.
Okay. So this always you remember this point. The leakage flux always depends on the whole current, and the magnetizing flux or mutual flux depends on the only the magnetizing component of current, because that component of the current is used to magnetize the core. Okay. So that means if there is no current, load current, then also you will have some mutual flux and leakage flux, but then the leakage flux will be very less. Okay, anyway, so this is the equation. Now this actually, just a minute. Okay, this voltage drop, what I have taken J XM IM. Okay, so can you tell me how this voltage drop is coming? This voltage drop is coming basically from this. If I show you our previous discussion, then it will be understood. Okay, so like this. Like this, here we are getting the leakage voltage drop. Similarly, from the mutual inductance, we'll get the mutual. Okay, so I couldn't find the reference, but still I am discussing it again. Okay, so we have some equation we have already discussed, that E1 equals to minus N1 d phi dt. Okay, and this equation we can write this minus N1 d phi m dim. Mathematically we can write this, isn't it? So mathematically we can write this, so d phi m by im dim dt. So this we can write as, because this part we have already defined, this part is basically IALM and this is dim dt. So this I have written it here. Okay, but the thing is, so if I want to equate this, so we have to equate with the minus E1. Okay, so therefore I have taken this as minus E1, this as minus E1. So this actually, when this time varying quantity we refer to, we transform to the frequency domain. We call it frequency domain. We will study this in later. So this is called the F domain or omega domain. So when we'll convert, when we'll transform this time domain parameters into the frequency domain, we got this omega, j omega, etc. So we'll get j omega lm into im, capital IM. Okay, so the things are getting like this. So here we are basically getting, so this voltage drop generally we don't consider as a voltage drop, we consider as an induced voltage, So this is basically your E1. Whatever the voltage you are getting as a voltage drop across the XM, mutual reactance or mutual inductance, is not a voltage drop. We consider as an induced voltage, It is not a voltage drop. Though this voltage we consider as a voltage drop across this leakage reactance, we consider as a voltage drop. The voltage drop across the resistance we consider as a voltage drop. But E1 generally we consider as an induced voltage. It is not a voltage drop. Okay, you can also say that E1 is basically this voltage drop or this voltage of ICRC. So E1 equals to either ICRC or JXM IM. So that is the equivalent circuit for the primary. Now the we have to drop out the secondary also. Now in the secondary also you can take that ideal coil which is giving some voltage E2. Here also it is giving E1, there it will be having some E2. So here also it is an ideal coil. It doesn't have any reactance or resistance. Okay, so this is an ideal coil. After that, the secondary also has some resistance, that is R2. Secondary also has some reactance, that is JXL2. We have already discussed these terms. And in the secondary, we considered that load current. The load current is I2. So whenever this I2 current will flow through it, we can expect some voltage drop. So that is I2R2 and J I2 XL2. Okay, so then this part which is left, we call it the terminal voltage V2, as I have already discussed this V2. So that means from this, the KVL equation, what we can write is E2. So this is another KVL, the last KVL or the last equation for transformer, that is E2. Here the source is E2. So for the primary, the source was V1. You see, for the primary, the source was V1, but here the source was V1. So therefore we have equated, sorry, here we missed that vector sign. So here we have equated this V1 with the voltage drops, because V1 was the source there. Now for the secondary, the source is not the V2. The source is the E2. So that means this E2 vector then will be equal to I2R2 plus this voltage drop, that is JI2XL2 plus this V2, that is the terminal voltage. So that will give us the fourth equation. Okay, so this will give us the fourth equation. So that means if we want to remember the transformer equations, you can remember the four equations, two KCL equation, two KVL equation. I am writing it once again for you. So one is the I1 prime equals to I1 plus I0. That is equation number 1. I0 equals to IM plus IC. That is the current equation number 2. Then the third equation, we are getting this V1 equals to I1 prime R1, I1 prime R1 plus J I1 prime XL1 plus minus E1, minus E1, that is the induced voltage for the primary. Then we are getting the equation for E2, that is I2R2 JI2XL2 plus V2. So you can remember these four equations. So these four equations will explain the transformer circuits completely. So you can remember only these four equations for transformer circuits. Any doubt so far? You can ask. Anybody has any doubt?
E2 is equals to I2 N2.
E2 equals to I2 R2 হ্যাঁ বলো E2 equals to
I2
কি বলতে
N2
চাইছো?
I2 N2
No. I2 N2 is an MMF. E2 is the voltage. MMF is the variable of a magnetic circuit, and EMF is the variable of an electrical circuit. So now I am discussing only the electrical part of the transformer. Okay, so N2, I2, all this magnetic term I discussed during the discussion of transformer principle of operation. There, when there is a load, so due to this load current, there will be some MMF I2 N2. So that is the MMF, which tries to produce some flux in the core, and in which direction? In the opposite direction to the primary flux. So the job of the MMF I2 N2 is to produce the flux, not to produce the current directly. So primary job of MMF is to produce the flux, but EMF produce the current. So that is, in that way you can remember. So this E2 is the secondary induced voltage. The first day I discussed, if you can remember, so E1, E2 and V1. So if there is some current I, okay, in the primary, or if there is some flux, so that flux gives some induced voltage in the primary, that is 4.44 F phi m into N1, that is equals to E1, and E2 equals to 4.44 F phi m into N2. Okay, so this is the magnetizing flux. So in this way we are getting E1, E2, etc. And what here we can write this E1 by E2 equals to N1 by N2. That is another important equation. Another equation is we get from this MMF balance, that is I1 N1 equals to I2 N2. So these are also very important two equations, very important equations, voltage ratio and this MMF balance equation. So all these equations I have jotted down. If you can remember these equations, that will be enough. Now let me know if you have any doubt. Then we'll do some interesting operation on these equations, and we'll wrap up our discussion on transformer. Students, any doubt? Okay. Now, I don't know why the number of participants are getting poorer day by day, because in the last class also I saw some participants more than 90. Do you have any justification for this? Joyat is there?
Yes, sir. No. Actually, everybody has got the link. So 8 has actually. Everybody has got the
Follow?
link, sir.
Then why you are getting this poorer participation?
So it's their wish. How can I
Are
say?
they? Then what we'll do? Will not share this class to YouTube. Will not make it live. What we can do, we will record this. Whoever will be actually for a particular reason will be absent, if he writes to me, then I will share that video only. So that will be a restricted video. If some participants are actually have some problem, is not able to attend the class, then only I will share this video. Otherwise, I don't share. So I will ask other teachers also not to go for the live, because it is always uh, advantageous to be in the live classes, interactive classes. Okay, and I also, if you can remember, I also told you at the beginning that this lecture series, which is being organized by IEEE SPS and PES Society of Kolkata section. So after all these lecture series classes, there will be some exams, and you have to you can appear in that exam. I can't say you have to appear because it is not mandatory. You can appear in that exam, then we'll issue some certificates. But then we'll check the party this attendance. Those who have the attendance more than 80%, they only will be entitled to have the certificate. And these certificates are very uh, important one for your future career, because it is issued by IEEE. IEEE is a professional body all over the world, whose head office is in USA, but it is now a most popular or most important one. And in your this any kind of career, engineering career, it may be if you have a core engineering career or academics, wherever you will go, it will be helpful for you. These professional bodies will help you in different regards. So anyway, so that is up to you. You can appear for that online exam, online tests. We'll take some online test, mainly MCQ. Okay, so then you will be having some certificates. So anyway, so if you have any doubt, you can ask me right now, because so far I have discussed, it's not very easy to understand. Okay, if you don't have any, then I will move forward. Now, you see, if you look at the circuits, can you tell me what is the name of this and this circuits? Anybody? Participants? So let me ask you one by one. Okay, so Ananda Chakraborty, unmute yourself. Ananda, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell
Yes,
me what
sir,
is the
I'm-
name of the first circuit?
Sir, it is the one which is supplying the AC voltage, and the other one is the one in which the voltage is getting induced due to the first circuit.
No. I am asking what is the name of the first circuit?
It is the primary circuit.
Primary circuit, but what is the exact name? It is called the primary equivalent circuit.
Okay, so yes, sir, primary.
This is the equivalent circuit of the primary, or primary equivalent circuit. Okay, so you can remember this term. Primary equivalent circuit, and the second one is the secondary equivalent circuit. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so the electrical equivalent of the primary and electrical equivalent of the secondary. Okay, so you can mute yourself. Okay, now these two equivalents we are having. Every times when we'll come across this type of transformer, we have to deal with these two circuits, and that is not a very easy job, because as far as one transformer is concerned, it is okay. But in a power system, there may be 1,000 number of transformers. So every times if we have to deal with these two different circuits which are electrically isolated. Actually, why we are getting two different circuits? Because transformer coils are electrically isolated. When we are going for this electrical equivalent, so we are getting two different circuits because there is an electrical isolation. Okay, so transformer coils are always electrically isolated. So therefore, we are getting two different circuits. But when we will go for the larger number of transformers, it is not possible to handle every time two different circuits. So therefore, we'll try to merge these two circuits into one. And that will be called the equivalent circuit of the transformer. That is the most important one of today's discussion. That will be called equivalent circuit of the transformer. Here we are, up to this, we have obtained the primary equivalent circuit, secondary equivalent circuit. But we should have only one. That will reduce our job to a great extent when we'll go for a larger network, power system network, having 1,000 number of transformers. Is that clear? You have to understand the objective first. Otherwise, there is no need to study. So you will not get any interest in your study until you don't understand the objective of the subject. Okay, now that is our objective. Our objective here is to merge these two circuits into one, so that we can handle only one electrical circuits during any calculation. Okay, so let us go for that. So here the problem is, if I want to connect these terminals, suppose if I want to connect these two terminals here, is it possible? Because these are the ideal component. You can just omit this, and if we connect this, is it possible to connect these 2 points over here? Can you tell me? Is it possible? Anybody? And if it is not, then why it is not possible? Anybody? Let me ask Orunim Poddar. Orunim Poddar, you unmute yourself and tell me, is it possible to connect? Orunim Poddar, are you there?
Sir, I don't think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You are Orunim Poddar.
Yes, sir.
So is it possible to connect these 2 points? So suppose this is our AB, or sorry, CD, and this is our AB. So is it possible to connect directly this CD to this AB? If it is not, then why not possible? Oh, this coils I have drawn is ideal coil. So if we remove those, okay, so that will not hamper any parameter, because it doesn't have any parameters. No resistance, no reactance. So is it possible to connect?
Sir, but the voltages are there are voltages E1 and E2 which are not equal. So
Correct.
it is not possible to
This
directly
so
connect.
first the voltages are not equal. Okay, so the first thing that you have told, that voltages are not equal. So the E1 and E2 are not equal. Okay, so in a simple sense, if you think of two terminals, 2 to 4 terminals, if the voltages are not equal, what will happen immediately? There will be a circulating current, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
There will be some extra current. So that we cannot allow. But the second thing is here the current, you see here the current is, what is the current? I1. Here the current is I2. It is possible to connect this I1 and I2. It's not possible. Okay, so then you have to provide some branching element through which the extra amount of current will flow. Okay, so therefore, it is not, in this situation, it is not possible to connect these two terminals CD to the terminus AD. So what we can do so that we can connect them. Okay, so that you think what we can do so that we can connect them. So first thing what we'll do, we'll take the equation number 4. The equation number 4 will take, and what we'll do, we'll multiply the both sides of the equation by n1 by n2. So that we can do, isn't it? So mathematically, any number we can multiply on the both sides, isn't it? Sorry. So this part you have understood. So we are multiplying both sides by n1 by n. Now can you tell me what is this term? n1 by n2 into e2? That will get from here. So here you see that n1 by n2, correct. So n1 by n2 into e2 is nothing but e1. So that means this term we are having e1. Correct? Now another modification I will do here. What I will do, I will write the I2 in terms of I1. So how I can write this? So I2, from this equation, you can see I2 is nothing but n1 by n2 into I1, isn't it? So you see I2 equals to n1 by n2 into I1. So that I will substitute over here. So then I will get I1 R2 n1 by n2 will again come. So there will be 2 n1 n2, n1 by n2 in multiplication. So it will be n1 by n2 whole square plus j, again this I1 will come. This element will remain same. And again one more n1 by n2 will come in multiplication. So I will have in n1 by n2 whole square, and this v2 into n1 by n2. So up to this, whatever I have done mathematically. So there is no mathematical error in this, isn't it?
Sir, it will be n1 by n2. That will be n1 by n2. I1 R2 into n1 by n2. You have written n2 by n2.
Sorry. Okay. Everything is n1 by n2 only. So I have done a mistake. Okay. So is that clear? Up to this. এর মধ্যে কিচ্ছু নেই. What I have done, I have taken the equation number 4. Then I have modified the equation number 4 with the identities already we have. Some identities already we have. We have from the previous discussion on transformers. And those are very simple equations, voltage ratios equation, E1 by E2 equals to N1 by N2, and I1 N1 equals to I2 N2. Okay. Now, if we have this, now can you tell me one more thing, that
Sir,
what is the unit of R2?
sir, I have a question, sir.
Okay, ask.
Sir, why we are always using the vector notations in all these terms in E1, E2, I1, I2? Are all these all the vectors?
These are all vectors or phasors. So in electrical terms, we call it vectors because
So you can,
electrical. Have you read the phasor algebra, phasor diagrams
yeah,
and all?
yeah. I was
Actually, in
about to ask you that
all
question.
this AC fundamentals.
Okay, so they can be represented in the phasor diagram also. Come on.
Yeah, these are all phasors basically.
Okay,
But as the
okay,
phasor obeys all the rules of vectors, also, therefore we treat them as a vector. বুঝতে পেরেছো? আমরা যেগুলোকে ফেজার বলছি সেগুলো ভেক্টরের সমস্ত রুল ফলো করে, সেই জন্য আমরা
okay, sir.
ভেক্টরও বলে থাকি। It is difficult
Okay, okay.
terminologies. Okay, so that means these are not only a value. So I1 is not only just a value, or
So they have the direction also.
it has not a direction, they will have some angle. So here we'll call it angle. Okay,
Okay,
so
sir.
a value,
Okay.
a magnitude with an angle. So they are all basically a phasor, but we call it vector also. Now, can you tell me what is the unit of R2 and XL2? Anybody?
Ohm.
Just simple question.
The
Bolo?
ohm.
Sir, ohms.
Huh?
Ohms.
It is
Ohm.
ohm.
What is the unit of XL2?
It will be also ohm, sir.
It will also ohm.
Correct. So the XL2 also will have the unit of ohm, though the L2, LL2, that is inductance, has a unit of Henry. But when we are writing reactance form, that is omega LL2, that will give you the unit of ohm. So both the R2 and XL2 have the unit of ohm. Now you just tell me what will the unit of R2 into N1 by N2 whole square. What will be the unit of R2 into N1 by N2 whole square? What is the unit of
Sir,
that?
ohm, sir.
Ohm.
Sir, ohm, sir.
Ohm
Also
only.
ohm.
Okay, correct. So that means it doesn't have any unit. It's just a ratio.
Yes, sir.
So that means when we multiply this term with R2, so I will get another resistance, we can say, like that, isn't it? Can you tell me that we'll get any different resistance or a different unit or the same unit? Same unit we will get.
The same
isn't it?
unit, sir. Same unit. Yes, sir.
Same unit we will get. So therefore, we are taking that as a different resistance, because now R2 is multiplied with another scalar quantity. That means it's a scaled version of R2, you can say. So that is R2 prime. It's a different resistance from R2. Here also, I will take that is as a different, sorry. So the different values of XL2 prime. So it was XL2, now it becomes XL2 prime when it is multiplied with N1 by N2 whole square. Here also, this is having the units of volts. When it is multiplied by N1 by N2, it will have the same unit volts, but the voltage will be different. So therefore, I will take is V2 prime. Okay. So now the equation becomes different. You see, the same equation, now it has modified. Is this clear? So how we are modifying these equations? So every steps we have done or modifying this equation is mathematically correct. We have done it mathematically. We don't know what is the change in physical circuits. We have done all these modifications mathematically, and we have exploited our previous knowledge on transformers. That means E1 by E2 equals to N1 by N2, I1 N1 equals to I2 N2. Okay, now you see, if this is the equation, Then what will be the circuit? If we want to go for the circuit realization, what will be the circuit for this? Now here our induced voltage, that is the source voltage, that is E1. So this is our E1 that is flowing through a, or that is flowing the current I1 through a resistance R2 prime and a reactance XL2 prime, and that is giving some voltage V2 prime. This circuit looks similar to the earlier circuit, this circuit. So that circuit also we are getting for equation number 4. So this circuits we were getting for equation number 4. Now we are getting the circuits for equation number 4a. These two circuits are similar. Okay, but the parameters are different. So all these parameters has changed. Now it becomes E1. So this E1, this becomes R2 prime, this becomes JXL2 prime, and this becomes the V2 prime. So this is because V2 prime. And the current is I1. Now can you tell me, now can we connect these points? So this is AB, I think. Can we connect now these 2 points with these 2 points AB?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, because now we have same voltage. Sorry, same voltage and same current. You see, if we connect these 2 points there, the current will also be same, I1 only, and the voltage also E1 only. Okay, so now we just connect these 2 points, this C prime to this A and D prime to this B. There will be no change, but we'll get only one circuit. A single circuit will get. Okay, so let me draw that circuit, and that will be our objective circuit, which is called the. So let me draw this. So we had the primary circuit through which the I1 prime current was flowing, and that current branched over here to I0 and I1. That was also branched in 2 components, IC and IM. That IC was flowing through a resistance RC, but this IM was flowing through a reactance XM. So that was our primary circuit, but now we are adding another resistance and a reactance, which we are getting from the equation number 4a. Next we have the load. The same current will flow through that, but here the voltage will be V2 and here the voltage is V1. Okay, so this is called the exact equivalent circuit.
স্যার ওটা V2 ড্যাশ হবে না?
কারেক্ট। এটা তো আমি দেখছি যে তোমরা ক্লাসটা কেমন পড়ছো, মাঝে মধ্যে একটু ভুল করতেই হয়, to check whether you are doing the class. Okay, so equivalent circuit of single phase transformer. So this is the exact equivalent circuit of a single phase transformer. So up to this I will discuss for transformer. Rest of the thing will be discussed in machine 1 in your normal curriculum in second year first semester if the class start. Okay. Now up to this, if you have any doubts, then you can ask me. Then I will go for the next part of the lecture, that is the rotating machine.
স্যার এই ইকুইভ্যালেন্ট সার্কিটটা ড্র করার পরে আমাদের সেকেন্ডারি সার্কিটটা ড্র করার প্রয়োজন নেই, মানে যেখানে আমরা টার্নগুলো থাকবে বা লোডের
No, nothing is required because all these you have taken in R2 prime, XL2 prime. All these parameters of the secondary you have taken into account. This is called, actually you see here which circuit, which equation I have taken for modification. I have taken the equation number 4, that is the equation for the secondary for modification. So therefore we are getting this modification in R2 and XL2. So that is the secondary parameters have been modified. So therefore we call it, this particular exact equivalent circuit, we call it the secondary parameters, because these R2, XL2, these are the parameters. Okay, so secondary parameters are referred to the
primary.
Correct. So here I have referred the secondary parameters to the primary. If we take another option, that is if we take the KVL equation number 3, the equation number 3, that means the equations for the primary, and if we modify that, then also another equivalent we can get. So if we take this particular equation number 3, if we take, instead of taking this equation number 4, if we take equation number 3, then also I can do the similar kind of operation. Then the parameters of the primary will be modified, and that will be called the another exact equivalent circuit.
Secondary equivalent circuit.
That will be called the that will be called
referred
the
to primary.
equivalent circuit referred to the secondary. Referred to the secondary. This circuit is referred to the primary.
Yes.
Okay, so this circuit is referred to the primary, and that circuit will be called referred to the secondary. So that you can remember.
স্যার সেকেন্ডারি সার্কিটে যদি একটা লোড ZL থাকতো, ওটাকে যদি প্রাইমারিতে কনভার্ট করতাম তাহলে ZL ড্যাশ হতো,
ওটাও রেফার হয়ে যাবে, that also will be referred.
হ্যাঁ, তাহলে স্যার এখানে
that
V2
will be
ড্যাশের ভ্যালুটা কি আমি বলতে পারি?
N1/N2 whole square.
Yes sir. তাহলে স্যার সেক্ষেত্রে
V2 dash will be voltage will be modified by N1/N2, but if there is some impedance in the secondary, that will also be referred, and that will be referred by N1/N2 whole square. Always remember, always the parameters, that means resistance, reactance, impedance, etc. When they will be multiplied with the trans ratio whole square, and the variables are referred by trans ratio square.
Sir, সেই ক্ষেত্রে কি V2 dash equal to I1 into ZL dash এটা বলতে পারি?
হ্যাঁ, তা বলতে পারো। তাহলেও তোমার একই জিনিস দাঁড়াবে। ওখান থেকে ওটা দেখবে যে ওই ভোল্টেজটা, ওই I1টা তোমার একটা নাম্বার অফ এটা নিয়ে নিচ্ছে না, মানে একটা আছে 1 N1/N2 you are getting due to the voltage, another N1/N2 you are getting due to the current. Therefore for parameters you are getting N1/N2 whole square. So this is my approach, my own approach of referring the circuits from secondary to primary, primary to secondary, but there is another approach discussed in the popular books like Bimra and all. So that then there the approach can be a little different. That also you can learn, you can study. But this is my approach. I think you have understood this. This is very simple. I have done nothing. Only I have modified the equations by our previous knowledge of the transformers. Is that clear? Okay. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me, or I will go for the next part of the lecture. You have any doubt? So today the attendance is very much poor. Now it is 61. Okay. So these things I think I have discussed. Have I discussed these things? Have I discussed these slides? Can anybody tell me?
Sir, not fully, I guess.
Yeah. Somebody raised his hand. I don't know why. If you have any doubt, you can unmute yourself, because I gave the permission that so that you can unmute yourself and you can ask me. Don't need to raise your hand. You can just unmute yourself. You can ask me. You can interrupt me at any time. Okay, so these equations are very common equations. This is one of the equation we are getting from the Faraday's law, that is equals to n d by dt. So this equation all you know. And this type of equation, this Et equals to L di dt plus IR, this equation just we have we have used for these transformers, isn't it? Now go for this. So this have I discussed. Okay. So this n d phi dt. So how I can implement? One is very easy, that we have done in case of transformer, where we had the time varying flux. My flux is itself time varying. So therefore it is very easy to have the voltage, induced voltage, because if we have time varying flux, so then it is very easy to get the induced voltage, because E equals to n d phi dt. But if my flux is not time varying, if my flux is DC, is it clear? Suppose my flux is constant in time, then how can I get the voltage, induced voltage? Do you have any suggestion? বলো কিভাবে পেতে পারি?
স্যার আমাদের তাহলে এরিয়াটা চেঞ্জ করতে হবে কোনোভাবে।
So suppose E equals to d phi dt n d phi dt, this equation we know, or maybe with a minus. But if my flux is constant, so is it possible to have the voltage out of it mathematically? If somebody asks you how I can
No, sir.
get mathematically d phi dt voltage, because if phi is constant, so that d phi dt will be 0.
By
As simple as
moving
that.
the source from secondary coil.
You have to tell me by this equation, because I have only one equation. Globally, I have only one equation to get the induced voltage. I don't have any other equation. Only the one equation which governs all the electrical machine is Faraday's law. So by using this Faraday's law, you have to answer me that if my flux is constant magnitude with respect to time, how can I get the induced voltage out of it? what can I write here so that I can prove that I will get some finite voltage, not zero voltage? Any suggestion? Okay, so the way it is written, how can I get the voltage? That means I have to create a relative motion between this coil and the flux. Okay, so we have to create some relative motion. Either my coil will be fixed, I have to move the flux, or the flux will be fixed, I have to move the coil. So anything we can do, or both can be moving, but there should be some relative motion between the coil and flux. But mathematically, how I can prove that I am getting some finite induced voltage? Okay, so let me write this equation like this. So this equation I can write like this. Isn't it? Can't we? Mathematically, we can write like this. কি বুঝতে পেরেছো?
Yes, sir.
Now you see what is the second part?
Sir,
What is this part?
omega.
বলো কি? হ্যাঁ কি বলছিলে বলো?
Sir, even if we move the coil, the relative motion of coil with respect to, then also the flux that is passing through the coil is ultimately varying, because the flux has to vary. Ultimately, if why
the flux has to vary. Even if your point is very correct. Even if we are moving the coil, if this part, that means d phi d theta, this part is 0, then the induced voltage will be 0. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that means we need two things. So that means this statement, what I have made at the beginning, that is the relative motion between the coil with respect to the flux, that is partially true. That means even if we have the relative motion, that is d theta dt, this is basically the angular velocity, isn't it? So this is basically the omega. In spite of having a finite omega or d theta dt, we can have a zero induced voltage if there is no change of flux with respect to the theta. So that means we should have some variation of flux with respect to the theta. So then only we'll have the induced voltage. So that I will explain. But this is the way by which we can get the induced voltage. So therefore I have made this statement, and this type of statements is written in every book, that if there is a relative motion between the coil and the flux, then you will get some this thing. So this is called the flux distribution in space. The first term we get from the flux distribution in space. The second term is nothing but the angular velocity, but the first term we get from the flux distribution in space. If the flux distribution in space is also constant, then we will have again a zero voltage, zero induced voltage. Is that clear? So we should have both the thing finite. That means we should have some variation in flux with respect to space angle theta, and we should also have some relative velocity, that is d theta dt. Then only we'll get some induced voltage E. Okay, so that is by this principle, the voltage we get is called the motion EMF. We call it motion EMF, or sometimes it's called the speed EMF. So this is called the speed EMF or motion EMF. The second option is very much valid for the transformer where the flux is itself time varying, and that type of EMF, whenever we get, it is called the transformer EMF. So there can be two ways by which we can implement the Faraday's law in our engineering to get the induced voltage. The first one is the speed EMF or in motion EMF, by where I have to create some relative motion between the coil and flux. And the second option is if we have the flux which is itself time varying in nature, then we'll get the transformer EMF as in case of transformer. And the third option is if we have both the first two options. That is, if we have a relative motion between the coil and the flux, and if the flux itself time varying. So that means if we, in that case, we'll get both the transformer EMF as well as speed EMF, isn't it? So in this case, we'll get transformer EMF as well as speed EMF. We'll get the both. The example I have written here, AC series motor, but that will be discussed in machine 3. The AC series motor is there in your curriculum in machine 3. Okay, so you will have both the transformer EMF and speed EMF in the third options. So have I discussed this slide?
No, sir.
Just unmute yourself and
No,
tell
sir.
me that.
No,
No,
sir, no, sir.
No, sir.
no, correct. তাহলে এটা আমি ডিসকাস করিনি। নাও অলরেডি অনেক কিছু ভিজিবিজি করা আছে। Let me whether we can erase this or not. Just a minute. Erase করা যায়? Eraser it is not showing. Okay, so let me discuss this. Suppose I have a north pole and south pole. I have two magnetic poles, north pole and south pole. You know that flux lines are originated from north pole and enters into the south pole. So what I have done, so it was like this. If there is no coil inside this flux lines, it will directly pass through north pole to south pole. So that means the flux lines will be straight, north pole to south pole, isn't it? Now, if I have a conductor in between, then also the flux lines will pass through north pole to south pole in straight lines. But if the conductor carries some current, then the things will be different. If the flux, if the conductor which I have placed between the north pole and south pole carries some current, if it carries some current, suppose in the cross current means into the screen, and dot current is away from the screen, meaning towards you. Dot currents always shows the current direction towards you, and cross current means into the screen, into your screen you are watching. So if the current is cross current, then due to this cross current, a magnetic flux will be generated only due to that cross current in the clockwise direction. The directions are found by the right hand corkscrew rule. Okay, so আমাদের যে ধরনের স্ক্রু আমরা ইউজ করি, সেই ধরনের স্ক্রু যেদিকে ঘোরালে ভেতর দিকে ঢোকে, মানে ইনটু দ্য স্ক্রিন ঢোকে, সেটা হচ্ছে ক্লকওয়াইজ। দেখো ক্লকওয়াইজ যদি আমি একটা স্ক্রুকে ঘোরাই, সেটা স্ক্রিনের ভেতর ঢুকে যাবে। আর যদি স্ক্রুটাকে অ্যান্টি ক্লকওয়াইজ ঘোরাই, তাহলে মানে ওটা খুলে আসবে, মানে তোমার দিকে চলে আসবে। So therefore it is given by the right hand corkscrew rule. So that means if the cross current is there, it will generate a magnetic flux in the clockwise direction. If there is a dot current, so it will produce the magnetic flux in the anti-clockwise direction. So that means already some flux lines were there due to this pole pairs, north pole and south pole. But now additional flux lines are created there due to the cross current in the conductor. Now, this cross current in the conductor and existing flux lines will interact and it will produce a different type of flux lines like this. Okay, so it will produce this type of flux lines after reaction. After reaction of this straight line flux and this circular flux, the new form of the flux lines will be like this, like this. Now you know that the flux lines are like a rubber bands. They have some elastic properties. Okay, so flux lines behave like a rubber band, or they have some elastic property. So that means the flux lines, some flux lines have bend. So they will try to exert some force in the downward direction on the conductor. So that means these flux lines will try to exert some force on the conductor in downward direction. Similarly, if we have dot conductor, so due to this type of formation, the flux lines will try to remain like its original position, original formation. So it will try to exert some force on the upward direction. Is that clear? It will try to exert the force in the upward direction. And if we have both the cross and dot in this magnetic field, so one will experience a downward force. That means the cross conductor will experience a downward force and the dot conductor will experience an upward force. So that means if all the other parameters are constant, if the amount of current in the cross conductor and the dot conductors are same, and if the number of turns are also same in the cross and dot conductor, if I take these two conductors are exactly identical, then identical force will be exerted on the cross and dot conductors. And that force, if I consider, so it will be give some couple force which is equals to F cross D, where D is the distance between the CG of these two conductors, between the center of gravity of these two conductors. Okay, so this couple force is represented by T, because couple force is basically a torque. So that torque is equals to F cross D. So this is how we get torque in 95% of the electrical machines. So if we have 1,000 different kinds of electrical machine, by these principles, we get 950 types of electrical machine. Okay, so this is called the electromagnetic torque. So you can write this term electromagnetic torque. In this way, we get the electromagnetic torque. That clear?
Can you please repeat the D?
বলো
Sir, D টা কি?
বলো
D টা কি
এটা
একটু
হচ্ছে D is the distance between these two conductors. CG, center of gravity of these two conductors. This is basically, it's a mechanical thing. Okay, so you are getting some mechanical force. You have some electrical current, but you are getting some mechanical force.
Okay, sir.
This
Okay,
can
sir.
also be explained by the well-known this thing. This we already know, na? You see the Fleming's left-hand rule. So this can be explained well by Fleming's left-hand rule. Similar thing. Okay, you see, this type of current means the dot current, which is towards you, and the magnetic field was like this. So this is your dot current, and the force was upward direction. Let us check. You see, if the dot current, the force will be in the upward direction, isn't it? Here the magnetic field in this direction. Okay, so let us select first the pen. Here the magnetic field is this. This is your magnetic field. Okay, so let us take H. Okay, whatever. Now this is the direction of current away from this. You will get some force in the upward direction. That will be the force. So let us take MMF. And that will be the force. So it's a three-dimensional thing. So MMF and I should be in 2 dimension, but the force will be generated in the upward directions. So this is how we get the electromagnetic force. Now let us take another example by which also we can get the electromagnetic force. Suppose if you have two parallel conductors, if you have two parallel conductors and their flux can interact each other. Okay, like two conductors, suppose two conductors are going parallelly in overhead lines, or maybe in transformer you have two coils, low voltage and high voltage coil, as I have drawn here. But when we'll read the transformer details, you will see that the direction of the current in low voltage coil and the direction of the current in the high voltage coil always in opposite direction. So like this case. So let me select the, okay. Like this case, you will have the opposite direction current in transformer. In this case, this same direction flux lines always repel each other. They always repel each other. So thereby you will get some force like this. But if the currents are in same direction in parallel conductors, then you will get some force of attraction. In this way also you can get some force. Okay, so due to the electromagnetic fluxes. So this can also be called electromagnetic force. Okay. The next one is the reluctance torque or reluctance effect. So what is the reluctance effect? Now I have discussed something here. So let me discuss in a different. So let me close this. Very important. So let me discuss. Suppose I have two poles, as I was discussing, so North Pole and South Pole. So the flux lines will be straight. If there is no conductor, nothing, the flux lines will be straight. Now, if I keep, so these experiments you have already done in your childhood days, that if I keep some iron piece, it's just an iron piece. Okay, so it is not a magnet. These are magnets, but this is just an iron piece. Ferromagnetic material like this. So what will happen? The flux lines will try to orient themselves through the ferromagnetic material. As it is iron, it provides less reluctance path, isn't it? It provides less reluctance path, so flux always pass through the less reluctance path. Now again, the properties of flux will remain same. That means the flux are basically like a stretched rubber band. So that means these flux lines will try to be straight. So that means here it will exert a force in downward directions, and here it will exert a force in the upward direction. Okay, so that means the next figure which I will draw, that will be the next position of the iron bar. So that means these forces will pull down the iron core into this configuration, and the iron core will be stable in this configuration, though there will also be some bending of the magnetic flux in this case also. Okay, so this is the stable position of the iron bar, but this position, why this position is stable? Because here there is a bending on the magnetic flux lines, but that if that due to that bending it have some force in upward direction, that will be balanced by a force here in the downward direction. Here also, if we have some upward direction force, it will be balanced by the downward direction force. So this is the stable position of the iron piece. Now, if that means we can conclude, if the iron piece is in this type of position, it will have some torque, but here it will have no torque. So this type of torque is called the reluctance torque. Is that clear? So this type of torque is called the reluctance torque. Okay, so now you will ask me that how I can use this reluctance torque to create a constant rotation of the rotor. Okay, now you see it's very easy to experiment that. If I go on changing my north pole south pole position like this, if I have a rotating north pole and south pole, then this also will rotate, this iron piece also will rotate. So in this way we can create some constant torque. Is that clear? So this is called the reluctance torque. So by reluctance torque also some machines are built. So in this way, so the example is there in the slide, that suppose initially I have excited A coil and C coil. So the location of this or position of this inside rotor will be like this. But after that, I will change my excitation to this BD axis. Then I will excite, instead of exciting A and C coil, I will excite B and D coil. Then the rotor will change its position to the horizontal. So if I go on changing this excitation from AC to BD, then I can get some constant rotation of the rotor. Is that clear? Now you tell me if you have any doubt, because we are already about the end. Students, if you have any doubt, you can ask. Or should I ask you? Rishabh is there. Unmute yourself. Rishabh. I think he's not there in front of the screen. So let me ask. Let me ask Joshimuddin. Joshimuddin. Okay. Anybody else want to answer me? Ahan Basu. Am I audible? Joel?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ahan Basu.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I don't know, some students are not giving answer. I don't know why. I will not ask you a difficult question, only the basic questions I will ask you. So, Ahan, have you understood what I am telling, what I am presenting here?
Yes, when there is a when the north pole and south pole are interchanged, the rotor will rotate.
Correct. No, I'm just asking you that what are the different ways by which we can get the torque in a machine? কি ভাবে আমি একটা মেশিনে টর্ক পেতে পারি? Because for rotating a rotor, we need some torque only. Mechanically, we can rotate a thing. Electrically, we cannot rotate. No? So by rotate a rotor mechanically, what are the different ways we can rotate a rotor?
Using the conductors, if two conductors are there between the electromagnets that have
Okay,
opposite,
so
opposite
you can
direction of
answer
current.
like this, that there are two different ways.
One is electromagnetic torque, another
Okay,
is
so you
reluctance
can you can answer. Correct. So electromagnetic torque and reluctance torque. So these are the answer. This is the answer. So either you can use the reluctance torque or you can use the electromagnetic torque. So how they can be generated, that can be explained broadly. But in a single sentence, if we are asked to answer that, then we can say by electromagnetic torque and reluctance torque, we can create a motion in a electrical machine. That's all. Okay. Ognivo Chatterjee.
Yes, sir.
Ognivo.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you just tell me in how many different ways we can get the induced voltage in any machine.
Sir, 3 ways, sir. Three
What
ways.
are the 3 ways?
Sir,
What are the 3
either
ways?
sir, either there is some motion of the conductor placed in the field, or there is a alternating changing flux, or both.
Correct. ঠিকই আছে, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই, আমরা বললেও হবে। We should have some relative motion in the first, then if we have the time varying flux, and the third is if we have the both the options. Correct. You can mute yourself back. Okay. So you have understood this. So this is well explained by, as I told you, well explained by the Fleming's rules that you have studied in your school days. But this is a very important one. You have to remember this all throughout your life. You should not forget these rules at no point of time. Okay, so that is this. We have to stretch our fingers of left hand as well as right hand like this. Why we are stretching the fingers like this? If we stretch other fingers, the problem that will not be helpful, because by these 3 fingers only we can create a 3D space. 3D space means X, Y, Z axis. If you try with other 3 fingers, that means index finger, middle finger, and ring fingers, then you can't create this type of thing. We have to use only these 3 fingers combination. That means the thumb, index finger, and middle finger. If you stretch like this, we can create a Cartesian coordinate system very easily. That means we can create 3 axes which are perpendicular to each other. Okay. Now, as this magnetic field, current, and the thrust or motion has this type of relation. Okay, so here I have defined the electrical machine. So an electrical machine is an electromechanical device in which either electrical energy is converted to mechanical energy or mechanical energy is converted to electrical energy. But the most important thing is magnetic field, which is written in red letters. So that means there should be magnetic field only. So in the presence of magnetic field only, this energy conversion should take place. Okay, so then only we will call this is an electrical machine, otherwise not. Okay, so we'll call this as electrical machine if the energy conversion takes place in the presence of magnetic field. If there is no energy conversion like this, like in transformer, as you know, there is some magnetic field, but there this energy conversion doesn't take place. That means the electrical energy is neither converted to mechanical energy, and mechanical energy is neither converted to electrical energy. So that means the transformer, as per this definition of electrical machine, transformer is not an electrical machine. We can't say transformer as an electrical machine because transformer doesn't obey this definition. So we can call the transformer is very important electrical device, electromagnetic device rather. But transformer is not an electrical machine. Is that clear? So this definition you should remember. And these 2 rules also you have to remember throughout your life. You should not forget these rules. I will ask you in the next class some basic things by these rules. Anyway, we have already completed our class. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me or I can end my class. Any kind of doubt? Okay, so if you don't have any doubt, you can leave the class. I will just end my class, but you should inform your friends that from the next class, I will not give this link to all this YouTube live. What I will do, I will record all this class by using the facilities of Zoom. Then as per the requirement, I will share it. Anyway, thank you very much for attending this session.